Hi, welcome to Spotlight, your story, their lifeline, a mother-to-mother podcast. I'm Mimi.
And I'm Dobra, and together we are your hosts. In this mother-to-mother podcast, you will meet women sharing their stories of struggle, triumph, and hope. Our aim is to ensure that no woman ever feels alone.
Through their brave storytelling, these women become lifelines for others on their own journeys. So join us as we dive into the incredible stories that inspire and empower.
Welcome to Spotlight, where your story becomes a lifeline. A big thank you to this episode's sponsor, Flowers by Miri, located in Golders Green, and you can check out her flowers on her website, flowersbymiri.co.uk.
Hi, welcome to Spotlight. This week we have an incredible guest on. Her name is Tanya Levy, all the way from Gibraltar. And we've got a disclaimer here just from Dobra very quickly.
Hi, in this episode I lost my voice, but Tanya was traveling for a while and we wanted to get this episode recorded before she went. So welcome, Tanya.
Thank you for having me. So exciting.
Tanya, you have an amazing journey that we would love our listeners to hear. And it's an incredible journey where you have overcome a huge challenge within yourself and embraced yourself. And this is a story about your journey of alopecia. So Tanya, why don't you take us back to the day, the time, the setting, what was going on in your life right when you found out that you had alopecia?
So I was 16. I think it was just after my 16th birthday, around that time, winter. And basically I had crazy, curly, gorgeous hair.
Brown, blonde?
Brown curly hair, really curly. And it was so curly that I couldn't really brush it myself. So my mum would brush it for me once a week at least. She'd brush me. It was kind of bonding time. Me and my mum, we'd sit there, brush hair, chat. And I remember one time we had like a bar mitzvah coming up or something, so my mum was doing a proper brush and she was brushing my hair and she just noticed a little patch. She said it was like the size of a 10p coin. She was like, oh, you have a little patch of hair missing. I was like, 16, I was like, patch of hair missing, whoa. So we mentioned it to my hairdresser because I went to the hairdresser like that day, and my hairdresser said, nah, it's fine, it's stress. I was doing my GCSEs, so it was a bit of a stressful time. Hairdressers didn't seem to be worried at all. So we just carried on with life, and obviously I think it was in the back of my mind, little patch, that's weird, but didn't tell anyone, nothing to worry about. Next week my mum brushed my hair again. Oh, the patch is a little bit bigger, she said. I remember her saying, now it's like the size of a 50p coin. Told the hairdresser again, she said, don't worry. Okay, long story short, it grew and it grew and it grew. And as my mum brushed and checked my hair, once we realised it was starting to grow, my mum would check on it more often and we just saw that it was getting bigger. So we went to the doctor and I got diagnosed with alopecia areata, which is patches on your head of alopecia, of hair loss, patches of hair loss on your head.
By that point, you had a few patches when you went?
By that point, I think that patch had grown and maybe one or two others, but all towards the back of my head. So at the front was nothing. So at this point I just had my hair down, couldn't really wear my hair in a ponytail, but I would just leave my hair down. It was a bit stressful. The doctor said chances are it can grow back, so I was hoping on that, but also the problem with alopecia is a lot of the time it's triggered by stress. So if you're stressed of your hair falling out, it's like a cycle because it could cause your hair to fall out more. But yeah, so that's basically how we found out.
Is that what they said was the reason you got alopecia?
So the biggest trigger for alopecia is stress. Unless you're born with it, then you're born with it. But otherwise, it's usually triggered by stress. At the time, I did have my GCSEs going on. I was quite stressed. I'm not a great studier, so that was a stressful time. And there was other things going on, just stressful things in my life, I remember. So I'm in my head, I based it on those stressful things because there's no other reason really for your hair to randomly start falling out.
So take us back to like the emotions. Like what were you feeling? Did you know anything about alopecia, or were you just wondering why is my hair falling out? And then it's like prime time for for everything, for social life.
Yeah.
And I can imagine you'll probably start to think about going to SEM, and we'll get into the SEM part as well soon. But like, what were your emotions? How were you feeling?
So for some reason, I look back to this time and I'm like, why? I don't know how I didn't freak out more. At the beginning, I just was kind of like, for some reason I was calm. I think it's because of my mother. I've got to put out there that my mother was a pillar for me. She was such a good support. My whole family, really, my mom was the best. She just was like, Tanya, it's okay. We carried on, we kept going. My mom was just there for me always, my family. And once I told my friends, which was, I'm going to come to that now, it was so scary to tell my friends. But at the beginning I was quite calm. But as it kept progressing and getting a bit worse, it was, I don't even know how I felt. I think I was scared more. I didn't really care so much. The only reason I cared was because of other people, my friends. I was petrified to tell my friends, to the point that I remember going to Israel with my mother. We went for 3 days and we got a wig, this really expensive wig that was meant to look just like my hair. We gave him a cut of my hair, and this wig maker made me a wig that looked exactly like my real hair. So I put it on, wore it to school. People didn't even notice, trying to be like that people wouldn't notice. But as it got worse and worse, I was just like, I have to tell my friends, especially my closest ones. I told them. Everybody was kind of, I had never heard of alopecia before. Never. I thought if I saw someone with hair loss, my mind jumped to different things. I've never heard of alopecia.
So can I just jump in there?
Yeah.
When they asked you about when the doctors suggested alopecia, did that scare you? Or were you just like, okay? Like, did you
scared me,
explain
but
what it was?
I think the way he explained it as a hair loss so common with stress, as it started out, alopecia, there's 3 stages of alopecia. So alopecia, totalis, and then universalis. So I started off with the lowest, which is alopecia, patches on the head. Once it got from there to totalis, which is the whole head, is basically no hair. That's when I was a bit like, okay, this is getting... Remember, I had gorgeous hair, so it was hard. Also, like, I would always put my hair down before I got my wig. I would just have to always wear my hair down. Could never get my hair done. And this is like, you're 16, you've got things happening, parties, this, that, and it was quite hard. But for some reason, I still don't know, when I look back, I don't ever remember being on the floor, sobbing, crying. I think really, like I said before, my mother, and also just having faith in Hashem that this was for the best. I had amazing mentors at the time, women from the community that I would do lessons with them. And then I did get into therapy, because it's a hard thing. I was at the beginning, I don't need therapy, it's fine. My mum was like, Tanya, go to therapy. So I went to therapy, which helped me understand that my hair doesn't define me. It's not me. That's now not Tanya Levy. It's Tanya Levy, but now I look a bit different and there's something different about me. So therapy was amazing. It was a bit of a, there's a stigma around therapy. We all know about that. But going to therapy was amazing, really was amazing. So it was really hard. And as it got worse and worse, I was going to SEM as well. This all happened, alopecia going to totalis, all happened over about 1.5 years. So it was very gradual. So I had times where I was like, oh, my hair might be growing back. It stopped falling out. Maybe I'll just be with patches. And then I'd wake up and the patch would be way bigger. So I'd be like, okay, never mind, carry on. And then SEM was approaching. And the summer before SEM, that's where things got really hard, because all of a sudden, from just my head, I woke up one day, I remember looking in the mirror and half my eyebrow was gone. And that was quite awful. Like, I remember telling my mom, I'm telling you my eyebrows thing. My mom was like, no, your eyebrows are okay. And then from the eyebrows, my eyelashes started falling out. And that, I think more than the hair, the facial hair, like the eyelashes, the eyebrows were the hardest part, because you can't...
I think we don't realise how much what they do, even though there's such a little bit of hair.
Yeah.
We don't realise.
Yeah, the eyebrows, without eyebrows, first of all, we just all look the same without eyebrows. I felt it was just wrong. That was the hardest part. And then that's when I went to the doctor, got diagnosed with alopecia universalis, which is no hair on your whole body at all. So I do think that was the hardest part, because I was going to SEM, which from Gibraltar, a class of 10 girls who are like my sisters, and I know are not going to judge me, didn't care. At this point, my friends, we went on a trip to Spain, a fun trip with a pool, and I went without my hair on. My friends didn't care. I knew the Gibraltarian community knew me. I knew they didn't judge me. I knew they weren't thinking, oh, what's wrong with her? Why doesn't she have hair? And I'm going now to a sem with 200 girls. We know what girls can be like, judgy, talking. I don't know. I was so nervous. And
this is like their first impression of you. Mm-hmm. They don't know the Tanya from before. They only know the Tanya without hair.
Right.
So it's like first impressions, and it's Tanya with alopecia.
Yeah, and as much as people are so nice, and once they learn, they can be so nice, but people are people, and we judge from what we see. And if you see a girl with no hair, you think, oof, what's that girl got? What's wrong with that girl? Why doesn't she have hair? It's just not what we're used to. And at the time, I hadn't really looked into wigs, so I didn't have the wig I had from Israel, which I thought was amazing at the time, was very nice, but it wasn't anything like what I have now. And I went to SEM, and girls could see straight away I was wearing a wig. Also, us Jewish girls, we can see a wig from a mile away because we're raised looking at wigs, a lot of us. So these girls all knew I was wearing wigs, and it was really hard. It was really hard.
Did you get questions? Like, did people ask you, or were you really confident and just told them straight out?
So at the time, I wasn't anything near what I am now with my confidence and with how I feel towards alopecia. I wouldn't show anyone my head unless you were like a close friend of mine, a family member. So I started off with my wig during the day, and then the first night, I remember I didn't know what to do. I was like, what should I sleep in? I'm not going to wear my head. Like, no, wear nothing on my head. So I put a scarf around my head and a hood on top. And I remember just being so uncomfortable. I was so hot. I was so bothered. There was heating in the SEM, so it was just boiling. And I remember girls looking at me. I remember there was like people asking the Gibraltarian girls who came with me, what's wrong with her? Like, is she ill? What's the issue? And I just was like so frustrated because I knew people were talking about it, and it's nothing. Alopecia is not like people think it looks like something scary, and it's so nothing. It's hair. Like, what is hair at the end of the day? Yes, it's huge and it's a feminine thing, but it's so nothing. And for people to be thinking like, ooh, that girl, like this or that. So I think the second week in, I just was overcome with this boost of confidence, and I went to Rabbi Katz, the head of the seminary, and I said to him, Rabbi Katz, can I please speak by shidduchim on Shabbos evening? And I said, just let me. And he was like, you're a year one girl, what do you want to speak about? So I explained. He knew about the situation, but I explained to him, and I said, I can't have people talking about me. I don't want people to be thinking things that are not true. So
can we just talk about that?
Yes.
Like, that is incredibly strong. I mean, you're meeting, there's 200 people that you don't know, and you're getting up in front of them and just giving them a lesson of their life, embracing it. It's
amazing.
It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie, as I walked up to that microphone on the night, not microphone, it was Shabbos, as I walked up to the front of the hall, I was shaking. I thought I was genuinely gonna faint. Also, my roommates, at that time, it's been a week and a bit of SEM, so my roommates, gotten on with them, they were such a great room, and they were all rooting for me, all sitting at the front, I remember, and my Gibraltarian friends. And I got up there, I remember shaking, my hands were shaking away, and I just explained what I have. I said, also September is Alopecia Awareness Month, actually, so it was September. So I was raising awareness for alopecia. So I explained to them, I'm not ill, I'm okay, I just have a physical difference to you. And I explained to them that, don't know what I was overcome. Hashem must have infused me with some strength to do this, because I was this little 18-year-old girl in front of these 200 girls, and so I told them not to feel bad if they want to come ask me questions, it's fine. And I was like, I remember finishing and I was like, so yeah, that's it, that's basically what I want to say. So I went off, and literally the whole SEM came giving me hugs. I was like overwhelmed. Everyone was hugging me. Oh, so what? Girls came to me, so what does this mean? Like, oh, is it like this? Is it that? Does it hurt you? Do you feel ill? Does it any other symptoms? I was explaining. And you know what, actually, I think that made me have more friends. People told me at the end of the year, like, after you did that, I thought you were so cool and you seemed so confident. I wanted to be your friend, and which was so nice, because to think that something which originally was so horrible for me made people think I was cool and want to be my friend. So that was nice.
It's amazing.
And definitely one thing I can say right now in this part of this podcast is that if you have something like this, a difference, something which makes you feel different to everybody else. And it's something like which you can hide. Like, for example, I could hide this with the wig. Don't hide it. If you like, you might think, oh, it's better so people don't see I'm different, but you don't realize the toll it takes on yourself to hide something that is you. It's not just like you have a little birthmark on your leg and you don't want people to see the birthmark, so you're hiding it. It's part of your identity. Something like this. Yes, I don't have hair, and yes, it's not the norm, and yes, it's different, but it's me. And if I go around my whole life trying to hide myself, then it just doesn't feel good. And it's something which I preach to anyone who comes to me and has a similar situation to me, has alopecia. It's the first thing I tell them. Tell your friends, tell your family, be proud of who you are, because keeping a secret is awful. And you're always thinking, can they see I'm wearing a wig? Oh, adjusting. Do you think my eyebrows like unpainted a bit? Like, it's awful. It's awful. So that was one of the best decisions I ever made, I think.
Can I ask you, is alopecia genetic?
So
can it be a genetic?
So there's so little research on alopecia, which I don't know why, because it's more and more common nowadays. A lot of the times when people are born with alopecia, they say the likeliness of genetic passing on is more than when it's triggered by something stress. Something like hair loss can happen to anyone. It's one of the body's reactions to stress. Hair loss, a lot of things can happen when we're stressed. However, someone who might not have the gene for alopecia, your hair might start falling out if you're stressed. At the same time as I started with alopecia, my friend from another country was going through exams. I remember, and she was so stressed, and she called me. She was like, Tanya, I have the same thing as you. My hair started falling out. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, thank God I'm not the only one whose hair is falling out. Then I remember exams finished, and she called me one day, and I said, how's your hair? She said, oh, it grew back. I don't have the hair loss anymore. And I was like, oh. Meanwhile, I'm like running to Israel to buy a wig, you know.
Right.
So that is the difference. I think it must have been inside me that I have the gene for it, but nothing in my family shows any alopecia. And I'm on many support groups for alopecia, which I don't use so much anymore, but at the beginning were like a lifesaver for me. And so many people say different things. I've seen some that say their daughter has it now and some that don't, and I do think that it's a lot chance. Like, yes, it's crazy, oh, mother and daughter have, but it's quite, I think, I don't know the statistics, but it's not so low as you would think. So there's no concrete
scientific
studies. Yeah.
Do you have any stories or anecdotes from your time at SEM that highlights any significant moments, of personal growth and acceptance of alopecia?
So one of them would definitely be the speech that I gave. That was huge. It changed my whole SEM experience, I think. If I hadn't done that, I think it would have been so different. Another one I can think about is there was a girl in SEM. She was quite quiet, and I noticed straight away that she had some sort of hair loss. I mentioned it to my friend. She said, I never noticed. I think when you have something, you notice it so much more in someone else. And I didn't want to say anything because you don't want to. My mum was always like, when she sees someone that looks like they have alopecia, she's like, Tana, go up to them and say, do you have alopecia? Same. And I'm like, no, I wouldn't like it if someone came to me. Now I wouldn't care, but at the time when I got it, I would hate it if someone came to me, do you have alopecia? Same. Awful. But so I didn't know if this girl would appreciate that, so I just kept quiet. And after I did that speech, she came to me one day, quiet, like in my room, I was by myself. She came to me, she said, Tanya, she said her name, she introduced, we hadn't met properly yet. And she told me that she had alopecia. And she said that it used to be worse, but she was doing a treatment. Now there's a form of treatment for alopecia, which is steroid injections in your head. They offered me that when I was getting worse and worse, but there's not such a high chance. It's like a 70% chance of regrowth, and it's a treatment. So if the minute you stop the injections, if you stop, you do them like twice a month. If you stop, the hair will stop if it grows. And these injections are awful. They're so painful. I know people who have done them, and I was like, I'm the biggest scaredy cat. I'm not putting injections in my head. So this girl told me that she was doing the steroid injections to her head, and they were so painful, but there was regrowth. But now since she came to SEM, that she felt like it was falling out more, and she was basically telling me how she's so scared and she doesn't want to tell anyone. She hasn't told anybody. She showed me her patch under her hair, which was quite big. And I didn't, at this point, I'm not where I was now. I'm like new to this. So I was like, go to
Right.
therapy. Like, I don't know what to tell her. So I said to her, don't hide it, tell people, like, it's fine, it's nothing. As in, I was trying, and I told her, if it hurts you, the injections, stop. I was like, don't do the injections, even though if she wants to do the injections, she should have carried on. And
Can I pause it a minute?
yeah.
Where did you get that ability to be able to just do that? Like the confidence to, speak to people, like be so confident with it.
I don't
Is that
know.
from your mum?
So yeah, maybe. My
Like-
mum is a confident woman, and I have always been a confident, outgoing girl, but I don't know. I'm telling you, when I look back to the time of this whole period until like end of first year of SEM, I don't know where I got like, I can remember, probably count on my hands the amount of times I had like a crying time because of my hair, which is crazy. I know another girl from Gibraltar who got alopecia, and she got depressed from it. It's so hard. It's a horrible thing. And if you don't have the right tools to help you, or even if you yourself can't handle it, which is very normal and it's an awful thing, she found it really hard. She couldn't go to school. She struggled a lot. And I don't know, to this day, I thank Hashem for the strength that he gave me. He must have been there holding my hand throughout the way, because I am a crybaby. I love girly things. I love doing my makeup. I love doing my hair. I would like straighten out with this, I would that. So I don't know where I got this, but something, I must be
Incredible.
like, I was a messenger or something for these girls who needed me along the way. And so this girl, in the end, we became friendly through this, and otherwise I feel like we're very different, but through this connected us. And in the end, I remember she lost her hair a bit more. She got a hairpiece, like an extra, not a full wig, and she would walk around SEM with her patches out. She wouldn't care by the end of SEM, and people knew that she had alopecia as well, and it was so normal by the end of it. And she came to me one day and she said, Tanya, thank you so much. You coming here and showing me that it's normal had a really big impact on her.
Tanya, I remember going through pictures of my sister in seminary, and she was in SEM with you, and you were walking around without your wig a lot of the time.
So that took a very long time to happen, actually. First whole year, never went around without my wig. I was the younger year, so that is a bit more intimidating. Also, something I find is that if you come a certain way, to change from that way is quite hard. Like if I came with hair on and with covering my head, to suddenly change to no hair, it is hard, because those people are not used to it. And yes, by the end of my first year in SEM, I had many friends who I could be without my hair, but I knew that there would be girls who would really freak out by seeing me without my hair, because from me, I came from a place where I saw so many different people. Gibraltar's a very diverse place, and I knew that there might be girls in the SEM that have come from more closed backgrounds or more places where they don't have so much exposure to these differences, and by seeing me without my hair, they might have, oh my goodness, and it freaks them out, which it is a bit freaky. It was like the first year didn't go without my wig, but there was much more people who saw me without my wig. Also, I changed from wearing a scarf and a hood to just a hood, and with just a hood you can see I don't have hair, but you can't see my head. So that was my first step. Then at the end of SEM, I remember all the A2 girls, the older girls, leaving and giving me, and I got loads of cards, and on the cards people said, you're so inspiring, this and that, and it all gave me, all this was like adding to the end result, which was that I can go without my wig. And when I came back for year 2 of SEM, I remember in the summer in Gibraltar going in the streets without my wig on one night. I went out with a friend and we went to a cafe, and I remember walking without my wig, and I remember telling her, like, Adana, my friend, I said, Adana, everyone's gonna stare at me in the streets and everyone's gonna look at me. She was like, Tanya, it's fine, I'll be with you, we'll go. I went, and I felt at first that everyone was staring at me. Adana was like, they're not staring, she's not staring, stop. And I realised people were not staring. Maybe one or two here and there, because I looked so pretty, but like, no, maybe one or two here and there, but really not as bad as I thought. I went to a cafe, no one was staring, no one was saying anything. I was like, oh, it's not so bad. And then in Gibraltar, I started going a bit without my hair on. And when I went back to SEM, I decided I'm going to come the first day, and in the night, I'm going to go without my wig. And yes, people might get a shock, and people might freak a little bit. Also, when you have a difference that's quite obvious, people get a bit awkward, they don't know where to look. Do they look at my eyes? Do they look at my head? Do they look at my feet? They don't know where to look. They don't know what to say. Should they point it out? Should they act like everything's fine? Like someone comes with like an eye like full of pus, and you're like, it's really awful. Right. Yeah, so I decided to, and yes, the first night, especially the younger girls who didn't know what I had, it was weird. But I actually remember first Friday night in SEM, I ended up, I don't know how, Friday nights, everyone gets in the zone, everyone gets chatty. I don't know how it ended up, but I remember sitting in the corridor in the hallway, me and a bunch of the younger girls, the A1 group, sitting around me, and I just was telling my whole story, and they were all like, wow. And after a week, everyone's used to it. That's the good thing about humans. We get used to things so quickly. People, we adjust to the new look. And I think it's great that people should see bald women.
Tanya, that's absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
I honestly, we're just in awe here. I think it can really play out in any way, in any challenge in life, when something happens that is a difference to what is the usual normal, to you, the normal. And we just you've given us that confidence. So shidduchim can be a daunting process for anyone, but with alopecia, there may be added complexities. Could you share your thoughts on the fears you have, the doubts, decisions that you have to face during this phase?
We'll be right back to this episode. Hi, I'm Danielle.
And I'm Aviva, and we are the founders of Mother to Mother, an organization that supports and empowers women on their motherhood journeys. We offer a wide range of services to make sure that every mother can thrive, from emotional support services to mother and baby groups, practical help, health information, community kitchen, and more.
Mother to Mother builds communities of women to support each other. By tuning into our podcast, you have joined the Mother to Mother family today. Welcome, and enjoy the rest of this episode.
That is definitely true. Dating is such a stressful time in a girl's life, probably in a boy's life too. It's so scary. You think to yourself, am I going to find my person? And now I've also got to think to myself, is anyone going to like me? I don't have any hair. So I remember when I was just getting into the dating scene, just finished SEM, my mum said to me, let's start listening out. And yeah, I think I felt ready. But in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, what do I do about the fact that I have no hair? How am I going to tell the boy? Should I tell them before? Should I tell them after? Should I do this? Should I do that? Is anyone going to like me? It's crazy, Boys are used to girls with hair. That's just the way it is. And as a girl with no hair, it's really scary to think. More than the thought of telling them is one of my biggest fears when I went into dating was, when is he going to see me without hair? One thing I remember, I went to meet a shidduchim in Manchester, and I remember feeling so nervous that, this is quite a scary thing. You're going to meet this matchmaker who's supposed to help you find your other half. And I remember talking to my mum before and saying, Mum, I'm going to tell her outright, I don't want any secrets. If she finds me a boy that she wants me to go out with, he should know before I go out with him. And a few people, the shidduchim included, said to me, a few shidduchim have told me this in the past, I think you should wait, go on one day, let him see your personality, and then tell him about your hair. No. At first I was like, maybe I should do that. What if they say no outright because of my hair? If they're going to say no outright because of my hair, they're probably going to say no after the first date if they find out about my hair. As amazing as my personality is, if they don't want a girl that has no hair, they're not going to change. Some people, which is fine. Not everyone wants to marry a girl with no hair, and that's okay, because the people are not for you. But so I decided, no, I'm going to say before, and I want any boy I go out with, he should know before we go out that I have no hair. So I told the shadchanit, and she said, okay, I'll make sure to tell everybody that. And one thing I have found in shidduchim is that because of the way it works, which is a very it's very text-based, it's like this one matches this one, let's try putting them together. I find that sometimes people are put together, and because someone has, which can be seen to the public as a disability or a fault, they'll put them with someone else that they think has a fault or a disability because, oh, that seems fair. So I said to the shadchanit, I am a normal girl, I have great qualities, and I'm ready to get married, and I have no hair, but that does not affect, it doesn't mean I can't cook I can't cook in the future, it doesn't mean I can't clean up, it doesn't mean I can't take the kids to school, it doesn't mean I can't do this or can't do anything else that any other woman can do.
You don't have a disability.
I don't have a disability.
And you wear a hair. You wear a wig most of the time.
And I wear a wig, which is a great expense that's less for after the wedding. And neither does, just putting this out there, neither does a boy maybe who has a limp, and neither does a girl who has a scar on her face. And so there's no reason, not that I would say no to someone who suggested to me with a difference, but what I didn't want is that because I have a difference, I should only get suggested a boy that also has a difference because that's what makes sense. So that's one of the things I pointed out to her. And so, okay, we had our interview. She said, great. I told her that this is not anything that should make me less of a catch or less put it on my resume or tell people, oh, but she has alopecia. No, this. She has no hair. Yes, it doesn't affect her. If they want to say no, they should say no. So I remember getting my first suggestion. I was so excited. So I went on my first date. Really exciting. Didn't work out, but it got me out there. And I remember feeling, okay, one boy said yes to me. You know, we got this. And so my dating journey began. And I do remember a few times getting said no to because of my hair. And now I'm like, they shouldn't have told me it was because of my hair. They should have just said it was a no. But I remember I am so confident with my hair loss. I'm so fine. At this point, Baruch Hashem, I've come to a point where I am happy with having no hair. I don't even particularly care if it grows back or not. Some people, I sometimes have regrowth, patches of regrowth that fall out. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, your hair. I don't like to think about it. If it grows, it grows. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I've come to love myself without my hair. So I am very confident with it. But to hear outright that someone doesn't want to date you because you don't have hair, even though you know it's nothing personal, a guy doesn't like the look of a girl with no hair, it's fine. It's hard, and it gives you a little blow to your self-esteem. It chips a bit here and there, and it makes you feel, oh, is there anyone, is this gonna happen every time? And once it happened twice in a row, 2 boys that I was interested, okay, and they said no because there's no hair. Obviously, the next day when you're feeling better from it, you look back and think, I wouldn't want a guy who doesn't like me without hair anyways. He's not right for me. But it's hard, and you find it. I remember joining a group. It's called Warriors, if any of you are listening. The group is called Warriors. It's Jewish women who have alopecia from the age of 20 up, all ages. And I remember asking always, guys, I'm going into shidduchim now. What did you do? How did you tell your husbands or your shidduchim? Yeah, your spouses. And they would give me advice. And Baruch Hashem for these support groups. Honestly, another thing, if you have any sort of, join these groups, go on them, because they'll help you so much. They'll give you so much strength to know what to do, give you advice from people who've been there and done that, and it just helps. So
when you were actually dating the boys, did this come up in conversation, and did you talk about it, and did they ask you questions?
So only if it got a bit more serious would the boy bring it up, or I would bring it up. I would bring it up on the first date if I could, but don't want to overdo it. Most of the boys I dated, it never came up, it didn't get that far, but there was about 3 boys that it did come up with on the 3rd date, and I brought it up. We both started talking about a bit more deeper about ourselves and about each other, and it came up, and I told them all about it. Very open, told them what I've spoken about on here about Sem, and they were so nice. And there are boys out there who are open-minded enough and who realize that it's so much more than the exterior, and it's okay if there's a boy out there that doesn't want a girl that doesn't have hair. It's okay, they're allowed to have that opinion. But there are so many men out there, boys out there, who will marry you, who will be with you, and who will see that the hair is really nothing, and also you can look amazing without hair, and if you feel good, you will look good. And you have to just, if you feel awful about yourself and you walk around all hiding it, you will look like there's something wrong, that you're feeling awful. If you keep it a secret, this is actually something I wanted to talk about before, just to deter a minute. If you have something that is different to other people and you make it strange and weird, and you make it something secret that everyone should feel, oh my gosh, I just spoke about eyelashes and she doesn't have any eyelashes, it's always going to be an awkward subject, and people are always going to feel like they're stepping on eggshells around you, and they have to be so careful about the way they speak. If you're a girl and you don't have hair, if you're a boy as well, but girls mainly, if you're a girl and don't have hair, let's be real, girls talk about hair, girls talk about going to the hairdresser, girls talk about which mascara do you use, and it's hard sometimes. I'm like, come on guys, be a bit sensitive, think about who you're sitting with. Sometimes it gets a bit to another level, but if you make it, I tell my friends all the time, it's fine, don't worry. And you just have to, if you show that it's normal, it will be normal to other people. If you make it weird, it's going to be weird to other people. So when I would go on a date and we'd talk about it, I was so fine. Yeah, my hair, no, it's fine. The guy was like, oh, it's fine. If I was like, no, I don't want to talk about my hair, they'd be like, oh, we're not going to talk about it. And right. You need to, it's you, it's me.
Yeah, it's how you are with it.
It's like saying, oh, I've tan more in the sun. Yeah. I tan more in the sun. Oh, I just don't have any hair.
And I mean, Tanya, should we let our listeners know should we like smash the glass here? Like, what do you say?
No pun intended. So the journey was a bit of a tough one. We had our ups and downs, but Baruch Hashem, I got engaged not that long ago, actually 3 months ago, Baruch Hashem, to a lovely guy. And actually, I'm going to stop on this point in a minute. When we started dating, like every other guy, I put it out there, told the person who was organising the shidduch, tell him I don't have hair, make sure he knows beforehand. He knew. And on our first date, which is so different to any other boy I ever dated, we just were talking and it came up about my hair. I don't remember who brought it up. And I remember him saying, look, to be honest, I'm not one to say no to anything without first looking, like everything else seemed amazing and you seemed like an amazing girl, so why should I say no? Which I loved. And I've never ever done this, but on the first date, right there and then, I took out a picture and showed him. Happens to be, I have a picture of me with no hair on my social media on Instagram, which we'll talk about in a minute, but I showed him a picture of me without hair, and I think he was caught a bit off guard. I'm not gonna lie, I think he was a bit, it's not something you're used to, but he was like, okay. And he was so honest with me, said, okay, it's not what I'm used to, but okay. And we spoke about it, and I told him, please don't worry, don't be scared to talk about hair or to talk about, if you by mistake ask me about mascara, not that he would, but if you by mistake ask me a question to do with hair, do not feel bad because it's okay. And he said okay. And slowly he got more and more used to it, and now, Baruch Hashem, we're engaged. But now, honestly, I don't even think it crosses his mind that I don't have hair. I think that he's got to see how it's so nothing, and yes, it's not normal and it's different, and hair is something that defines a girl in our society. Hair is something that defines a girl, which is a shame because it's so superficial, and I think he realized that now, and he's amazing, and he loves me for me and not for my hair or lack of hair. And just because he was the one that I was meant to marry, it wasn't from one second to the next he was like, okay, yeah. It was a minute that took a bit of time. But Baruch Hashem, I did get engaged, and I just want to say I was so scared that I would never get engaged. I'm telling you now, I was so scared, especially when boys said no to me. I was like, is anyone going to say yes to me? Will it be so hard to show him my head? Like, how's he going to see me? Also, in my circles, I always thought to myself, when are we going to be alone in a place? I'm not going to whip off my hair in the car on the way to a date. I'm not going to, in the date, I don't feel comfortable in England to do that, really. So I was like, when am I going to show him? And you find the right moments, you show pictures, and it worked out, Baruch Hashem. And really,
you had this added pressure.
Yeah, definitely. There's such an added pressure, and it's so hard, and my heart goes out to anyone in that time now stressing, am I going to find my guy? You will find your guy. Everyone's got their guy waiting for them. And if there's a guy out there with alopecia, it's also hard, it's harder even a way because they can't wear a wig. It's harder to wear a wig as a guy.
Right.
I am proof there's so many women out there who have alopecia and have got married and have amazing, loving husbands, boyfriends, whatever it is. And yeah, you just have to be confident and keep looking and don't give up and don't think, oh, no one's going to like me. Someone's going to like you.
Can you, looking back at this incredible journey, then can you pinpoint certain parts that helped you through to reach that incredible confidence that you have?
One of the things that helped me is definitely helping others. That really helped me to see that, just seeing that there's other people like me and seeing the support groups. Again, please, if you feel like you need to, these things help so much. It's just to see that there are other people like you, and people put advice, people say, oh, if you want some good fake lashes, look at these ones, this and that. But another thing I found really helped me personally, which might not be good for other people, but I am on social media, Instagram specifically. September is Alopecia Awareness Month, so on September I posted, for the first time I remember, I posted a picture of me without hair on my social media, and it was such an amazing response that I got from all the people that follow me. Just positivity, and making me feel, wow, like I'm not weird, I'm not ugly, I don't look like an alien, I look like a girl that's a bit different but still beautiful and still amazing in your own way. And also another thing is my mother, she's got quite a following online, and she posted on her Facebook, I remember she posted a picture of me on my birthday without hair. I gave her permission, obviously, and also she got a lot of amazing, I've never had a negative comment, obviously by mistake maybe someone can make, but I've never had a negative comment because of it. And people are just ignorant. I find that if people say something mean, they just don't know. It's not that they're trying to be mean. No one's gonna see someone bald and be like, unless you're an awful person. People just don't know. So that's why we have to raise awareness and show people it's normal and you're fine and you're gonna be fine and nothing's wrong. And yeah.
Like you mentioned that like your mum was a huge impact on your confidence. Can you tell us things that she did for you?
So I think with my mum, she just was so there for me. Like she made it so normal. She made it so normal for the rest of my family. And I remember when I never said this before, but when I was diagnosed with alopecia totalis, which is the whole head, my hair never fell off fully. It was like falling off and it was really bad. I remember cutting it one day because it was just annoying me. And one day I was anyways wearing a wig and I had these random longer patches and I knew it's going to fall out. So I remember one of my family members shaved off my head for me. I remember thinking my hair. I remember saying, I just want my hair to go. I want to make my hair. I think it's a bit of control that you can shave your own head. So I remember saying, okay, we're shaving my hair. One of my family members came, shaved my hair, and my whole family was there. And I have a little nephew. At the time, my niece wasn't born, but my nephew was like 3, 4. He'd always known me with hair. And I was particularly scared. I don't know, I was scared that he was going to be scared of me. Kids don't even realize. He was like, obviously he realized, but they were all just, my family were amazing. And I think if your family are supportive, it just helps so much to be, you know, and it's hard for them as well. Like it's sad for them as well. My mom, I know it was really hard for her little girl losing her hair. It's not easy, but my family made all the difference. My dad, everyone, my dad was always just telling me how pretty I am. They just boosting your confidence. And yeah, Baruch Hashem.
That's amazing. It's incredible how it just shows how much your surrounding can really make a difference to your journey.
Friends, teachers, everyone makes a difference.
Tanya, wrapping this up, I would love it if you would be able to leave our listeners with a message of hope and encouragement.
And Tanya, specifically to someone who might be going through this.
Okay, so one of the things I want to end off with is when you have something like this, which can be seen as a negative thing, something we don't want, something that's not a good thing in your life, you can't sit around thinking this is so horrible and I hate it and it makes me ugly and no one likes me. One thing that I found helped me is to look for the good, and that's actually something which I really found in therapy. We would try to go through and see what is good from this. So one thing I found really came out from this, which is a good thing, is that I'm so much more sensitive to other people. Now with my wigs that I wear, you would never think that I have something different. A lot of people don't notice I'm wearing a wig, and you realize that there's so many people in the world that you don't know what they're going through in their own time, in their own homes. They might be all woo yeah in the streets, and they might go home and have to deal with something awful going on in their life, something way worse than no hair, something like having no hair. And it's just made me much more of a sensitive person. So that's something really good that I took out of it, and it's made me who I am today. And I find that when you have something like this, you just got to really try and find the good in it, try and accept it. Don't fight it and say, no, accept it, and realize it's just something different. It's not made me worse, less of a person. It's just changed a little bit, and now I'm a bit different to how I was before. But just, accept who you are, love yourself, and just try and be happy. Obviously it's very easy to say that, but as someone who's been there, been through it, been on the lows, been on the highs, and is now Baruch Hashem I'm feeling good with myself, and it's such an amazing place to reach. So think of the end goal, think I want to be happy and this is who I am, and maybe one day hopefully it might grow back, but you can't always live thinking in the maybe one day. My biggest message is to try and come to terms with who you are now and the difference that you might have, and tell the people around you, tell your loved ones, let them support you, let them push you up and help you get up from any place that you might be, which is not a good place. And yeah, just to have hope that you'll be okay and you're fine and you're normal, and yes, you might not look like everybody else, but it's okay and you're great.
Tanya, thank you so much for sharing your inspiring story. Mazel tov.
Thank you. So
we
exciting.
are so excited to dance at your wedding.
Oh yeah, me too.
Can't wait.
Me too. Thank you guys for having me on this podcast. It's been great, and I really hope there's someone out there who really benefits from this. And yeah, you guys are amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode on Spotlight. If you are affected by any of the challenges we have discussed, then please visit www.mtom.org.uk/podcast for guidance on where to find help.
Do you also have a story to share? Be in touch if you'd also like to be a lifeline for others by sharing and empowering women across the world. Podcasts at mtom.org.uk.